Hey guys, I'm Amanda Rouse. Welcome to the Manduhmay Podcast, episode 1. And today we're going to be talking about me, Amanda. Today we're going to go over some early childhood of little old Amanda. We are going to go over what got me started into modeling, what made me decide to move to LA, and then we're going to talk a little bit about kind of my past and what I've been doing, and then imposter syndrome. Dun dun dun. Okay, you guys, let's get started. So, hi, I'm Amanda, and I grew up a military brat. My dad was in the Air Force, so I moved around quite a bit. I think we moved every 3 years or so, maybe. And, I enjoyed it. I grew up in all different kinds of places. I was also homeschooled for 10 years. I have 3 other siblings, so my mom homeschooled 4 kids, which is crazy to think about. We just did so many random things. She had us playing all sorts of instruments. We did all kinds of sports. I think there was a time, a few years in Illinois, a few years in Hawaii, where we were on a jump rope team. I just feel like it's so random. We were on a jump rope team, and so we would perform, what was it called? Jump Rope for Heart? What was that program where you'd go into middle schools, or I was going to middle schools, but you'd be in middle school or not high school, I don't think, junior high, and there were these programs where they wanted you to jump rope and work on your heart and all that stuff. Anyway, I was a part of that whole thing, heart health, all that stuff. So, I just grew up playing piano, guitar. What else did we do? Just random things, man, swimming. My sisters did band, but I think I was too young to do that. And then, I don't know, just archery. I grew up skateboarding because my older sister skateboarded. And then that's when I learned how to ride the unicycle. I was about 7 or 8. So just random stuff like that, just random stuff. So we were always doing something and we were always moving around. And then I started modeling kind of in a weird way because I grew up very tall. I actually don't remember not being tall. I don't remember not being tall. So I just feel I've always been tall, and people are always, at the time, people were always telling me, oh my gosh, do you play volleyball? Do you model? Do you play basketball? And I would always be nope. I had no intention of doing any of those things. I played basketball when I was 12, but I don't think that really counts for anything. I honestly did not envision myself as a model or in this entertainment industry in any capacity. I just had no idea. And I was in college. There was a girl in one of my classes, and she's like, oh, you should model. And I was like, I heard that one before, right? She's like, no, you could make money for college. I go, ooh, okay, light bulb moment, let's try. Okay, so I started doing some commercial work in Idaho, and my dad retired in Idaho. So I lived in Idaho for about 10 or 11 years. I'm an Idaho girl, honestly. I used to not want to claim it, but I gotta claim it. That's my hometown. That's families there, friends are all there. So I started in Idaho, and if you don't know anything about Idaho, then you probably know everything you need to know. Not knowing anything is about equal. There's really not a lot going on. There are great people. If you're outdoorsy, there's a lot of things to do, but Idaho potato drop, that's a cool thing that happens at the end of the year. But other than that, not too much goes on, honestly. So back to college, that girl telling me I should join. I started doing some modeling, and honestly, I loved it. I just had this envision for my life, which was me doing random things. I never saw myself, I went to school initially as an engineer, and I was I don't really see myself doing this for 10 years. And then I changed my major so many times, and that's a whole nother podcast. I just envisioned myself doing, man, I don't even know how to explain it, but I think there are so many people in this world who have this vision, to be a doctor, for example. I know some friends, most of my friends in college were nurses, and they're when I was 8 years old, or basically when I was out of the womb, I want to be a nurse. And I'm just wow, that is not me. I've always wanted to just do things that I like to do, and sometimes that's one thing, and sometimes that's another thing. And sometimes I feel like, you know, in 3 years, 3 months, 3 weeks, I'll find something else that I enjoy. So yeah, college wasn't the easiest thing for me because there's just too much out there. But I didn't know this world of acting, modeling, and this world that I'm in now allows me to do all of those things and more. So it's pretty wild. But as soon as I got into the world, even a little bit with the modeling I was doing in Idaho and the acting I was doing in Idaho and the runway shows, yes, Todd Allen, you're amazing, shout out, and Amanda Woods. I was doing runway shows in Idaho and I just fell in love with it. It's so cool. There's so much going on. There's always so much more you can do. And there's all these amazing creative people who just have this passion for their lives and they just know what they want to do and they're pursuing it. Or honestly, maybe they don't know exactly what they want to do, but at least they're trying, if that makes sense. I think one of the things about being in Idaho is you have a lot of smaller towns, which of course there's nothing wrong with small towns, but the idea is you only know what you know, and it's really hard to kind of get out of, even people who want to be creative, they're like, oh, I want to be a nail tech, which is great, that's fine. I know nail techs now who like, they're making a great living doing that because of the industry that you're in, because of the industry that I'm in LA, you're able to do that. You're able to have a great career. In Idaho, it's like, oh, a nail tech, like, like, I don't know. It's just like, oh, you can't do anything else. Like, oh, you can't hold a job. Oh, you like, it's not seen as even anything creative. Honestly, it's kind of like, I don't know. It's just not seen as a viable way to make a living. So yeah, it's interesting that it's different in the small town world. So I just love being out here where people who want to be nail tech, for example, they can do that and they can really thrive. They really can thrive. So I just had it in my mind that I wanted to be with more creatives. And as I started doing more in Idaho, I decided, honestly, pretty early on into starting modeling, I knew I wanted to move to a bigger city to do it, like to try to do it full time, right? And it was like a year and a half later, I decided that it was time to move. My dad was like, don't you want to finish your associates? And I was like, nope, don't want to do that. Peacing out. He's like, but I will pay for college. And I was like, no, I'm going. Yeah, I was gone. Got my associates, multiple, because I changed my major so many times. Because again, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I had so many ideas. I ended up moving to LA in 2016, and I very quickly started doing runway shows. I didn't have an agent at the time. I had a commercial agent that I got. I'm trying to think. I had a commercial agent. I didn't have a modeling agency for a couple years. So one thing you should know about when I'm talking about my experiences, and I'll remind you guys, most of my experiences are coming from a freelance model's point of view, because for so long I didn't have an agent. I've never had a manager. I have just booked things on my own. I've gone out on my own. I've walked in London Fashion Week on my own, New York on my own. I've produced a whole fashion show on my own, and you just learn to do things as you go along. And that's kind of how this whole industry is. You kind of just have to go for it, and if you have a passion for it, it like mostly works out most of the time. And you just have to go for it. And my modeling has been very DIY. Do it yourself. So honestly, I struggled like that, like, oh man, I'm trying to think. The first 6 months was really hard. Actually, I'm gonna say the first like 2 months was like, oh, this is great. I think I moved October, so like October, November, but then November, December, the way that this industry dries up the jobs. At least not so much now, but still, you kind of have November with Thanksgiving and all of that. People aren't really working. And then December, on and off, not really, but then Christmas. And then work doesn't really start back up again until like middle of January. And then honestly, since COVID, it's been really weird. Yeah, money kind of dries up. And I really struggled for the longest. And I almost moved back to Idaho. And I was just fighting so hard because I just loved being out here so much. And the hustle culture that there is, I just loved being inspired every single day by those around me who are also working, and hearing so many stories of people coming from, you know, I have $300 in my bank account. I have, you know, I'm sleeping in my car just to make it because they have this dream and a vision and a goal. Now, listen, I don't recommend everybody coming out here with $300. I don't recommend living in your car. Do not recommend that. You know, maybe save a little bit of money. Get some roommates. I don't know, line things up, have a job. But I just think LA is the place to be if you have this passion and drive in the industry. And honestly, even if you're just interested, you want to kind of check it out, see what's up. I think it's great. I think it's really great. I think you'll be inspired. And I definitely have been. Definitely if you come out here, and I'll do a whole episode potentially on like sites to use and things that you can do in order to book for yourself. I've had to learn. I'm still finding things, apps and websites and casting services that people are like, oh, you don't use this? Use this. You don't use that? Use that. Because you may think, well, how do you get jobs if you move to LA and you don't have an agent? Like, how did you make money? That is a good question. Because I think for a while it was really, really hard. But you find those sites and you find casting services, which basically, if you think of like LinkedIn, where they will have like a job with a job description telling you how much money it is and when and where and all that stuff. They have that for acting and, you know, modeling. If you do voiceover, if you're a dancer, there are these sites you can go to, just like LinkedIn, where they will tell you, you know, age groups that they're looking for, race, ethnicity, height, all of that kind of stuff, size, where you can just see if you fit a role, and then you apply or submit, you know, and then they might have you do like an audition or some kind of a self-tape or something like that. They might have you be called in to do an audition, and then that's how you get work out here. So that's what I did for. I mean, that's still what I'm doing, essentially. I have all these sites that I go to, and I'm just, like, applying every single day. I would say I get, on average, at least 40. I'd say, yeah, like, maybe 40 on a good day, 60 on a bad day. On a Sunday, I'm like, because I forget what day it is all the time. But I'm just like, oh, my gosh, no one's emailing me. I'm not getting anything. And I might get 0 to, like, 3 emails in that day. And I'm just like, what's going on? But on the weekday, I'm constantly looking at my emails, and I'm constantly applying and submitting myself. And a lot of those don't apply to me. Some of them are just like, I need a bald 8-foot white man or something. I don't know, something random, you know. Sometimes they're looking for dogs or like automobiles. I'm just like, I'm not a dog or an automobile, so I don't know what to do. But since I've come out here, this is wild. So now when I give my spiel of who I am and what I do, I tell people I'm a model, actor, casting director, and producer. Because those are all the things I do, guys. And it's so wild. I'm also getting a little bit more into my coaching. I do like movement coaching for models. If you're just starting out and you're wanting to learn facial expressions, hand positions, you know, just posing and all that stuff and flow. I call it I don't call it model coaching, because to me, it's not just about posing, it's about movement. And with movement comes, you know, you can have maybe certain poses within that, but I think it's really important as a model to just be able to move and have a good flow. That's when I get the best photos for myself. So if you're interested, definitely hit me up on that. Let's see, what else are we talking about? Okay, so imposter syndrome. Y'all, it took me a really long time when I first started modeling in Idaho to tell people I was a model. And because it has such a negative connotation, I think, in small towns, because, you know, everyone's a model. You do your little like high school whatever for graduation and you're like, I'm a model, and you're just like, oh my gosh, I did a photo shoot. And that's like everybody. Super small town vibes, guys. You know, to be a model wasn't anything. It wasn't anything good. Let's just say that. It was something, but it was not anything good. So it took me the longest to just own that and say I was a model. And then I mean, at this point I've been casting for different things. I worked with a production company and I was casting for their for some of their fashion weeks. I did Miami for a season, assisted a season, done New York and LA a few times. And then beyond that, I've casted for like music videos, and I've casted for just photo shoots and like different projects, short films, stuff like that. I've been doing that for years, and it's taken me until recently to say, oh, I'm a casting director. Because that's what I am. That's what I do. That's what at times I get paid for, depending, you know, on the project. If I'm casting, then I'm the casting director, right? And so it's taken me a really long time to own that. And then also with production, and then with my movement coaching, all of that, I don't know, it's just weird. Like, I just feel like for me, people will ask me, well, what brands do you work with? Or like, who do you work with? And most of the time, especially as a freelance model, you aren't working consistently enough with any brand. You're basically working for someone new every single time that you work. And so when someone wants to know who you work for, it's like, that's not really how it works. You're kind of just taking jobs as they come. And a lot of them, no one will have ever heard of in their entire life. But that's just what you do. You do it for this shoe company, and then these guys are doing purses, and then these guys are selling perfume, and then this person is for makeup. And it's just like random brands. A lot of them are online. No one's ever been to a store, and it's like popular in Switzerland or something like that. Listen, this is getting way off track. I'm not even sure. This is where it's hard, guys. This is where the imposter syndrome comes in for me personally. I feel like if as a model I just, you know, I haven't worked a lot of the jobs that a lot of models have. I haven't been with these bigger agencies, you know. I don't necessarily consider myself an agency model. I feel like I still... And I just signed with an agency recently. I feel like even still, I'm doing a lot and I'm working a lot on my own. I'm making a lot of my own business decisions. And I just feel like what people think I'm doing is not really what I'm doing. And so, but not in a bad way for me. Like, I love what I'm doing. This is what I've done for the last 7 years or so. So, I mean, I'm really proud of where I've come and the connections that I've made and everything that I've accomplished and everything I've experienced. But this whole, like, man, imposter syndrome really plays in for me, because I just feel like I should have more of a grasp of what I'm doing. And maybe that's another thing, is I'm not just an actor and I'm just going to auditions and I'm just pursuing this commercial acting career, or I'm not just a model who's just pursuing modeling and, you know, working out and eating my smoothies and figuring out my business plan into working with these different brands and runway and all that stuff. And I'm not just producing. I'm not just doing any of those. So I think honestly for me, I'm like, am I really truly a producer, model, actor, coach? Like, what the heck is going on? Because I think growing up, it is very much so drilled into me that, like, what are you doing? Just choose one thing, be good at one thing. And I think that's kind of where our culture is, or at least that's maybe where my mind is. And I just want to challenge you guys to explore whether or not you have imposter syndrome in something, whether it's like being a parent or going to school or pursuing a profession or being in a relationship, like, oh, just hit the mic, pardon. Anything like that. Like, do you guys ever feel like you are not up to the hype? And I want to challenge you just to think on it, because look at how far you've come. Look at what you've done. And kind of looking at my own resume, I'm like, wow, I've done ABC, XYZ, and it's wild, man. I was just in New York, and I just walked New York Fashion Week, and people are like, oh my gosh, Amanda, what are you doing? Da-da-da, it's so cool, you're doing all these things. And I'm like, yeah, it's kind of cool. Oh, thanks, like, That's like, no, that's so awesome that I went to New York and I walked these shows and I met these people and I did these things. I've been doing this, and I'm just trying to give myself more credit, more grace, and then continue to challenge myself, because there's a lot of things that I want to do for the future that really, honestly, it freaks me out. But also I'm kind of like excited for it. So, yeah, this is me. I'm Amanda. I do all of these random things, and I have so many stories to tell you guys. Like, that's why I want to make this podcast, is to tell you guys these stories. Some of them are funny, some of them are cringy, crazy. I'm just thinking of a few music videos that I've worked on. I don't know, it's just cool. So I'm excited to tell you guys some stories. I'm gonna have some friends on to kind of have them share their experiences, because I'm not a stunt woman. I'm not a plus size model. I'm not, a voiceover actor or anything like that. So I'm going to have those people on, and we're going to talk about our lives and just how we got into the industry and kind of what they're doing, what they've been up to. And I think it's going to be pretty fun. I think we're going to have fun on this. And, if you have any comments, questions, concerns, bread recipes, new unicycle, like Instagram people I should follow, like, let me know. Those are all things I'm very interested in. So definitely hit me up and let me know if you have anything you'd be curious to hear more about, and I will definitely try to make like a whole episode on that one thing. So I know coming up I really want to talk about just the business of modeling, because I think with so many young people getting in the industry, or people who are getting in the industry that don't understand that it's like a business, I think you can get taken advantage of. And that's when you hear the crazy stories and things happening to people that you're just like, like, what? Thank you guys for joining. And again, I do challenge you to see if you have a little bit of imposter syndrome in your life. And if you like this, I don't even know what to say. Follow, subscribe. What do you do? Hit a notification bell. Anyway, all the things. You guys are awesome, and we'll talk soon. Bye.